While making this video, it's only October of 2022, and there's a lot of great games coming out in the next few months to look forward to. God of War Ragnarok, Bayonetta 3, Sonic Frontiers, those are just to name a few. But what about some upcoming roguelite and roguelike games? Well, there isn't any roguelites as big as God of War, of course, but there might be a few small gems releasing in the next few months, like Wild Frost, Icy Red, or anything else that you might just have your eye on. But recently, I was able to try out a game that has a demo available, and it's planned to release Q4 of 2022, which means it's going to be released soon, and that's NecroBouncer. It's a dungeon crawling roguelike where you play as a bouncer to a bar, and you throw out wild guests on each floor, or I guess if you actually play the game, you'll see that you kill them, and you have a magic staff as your main weapon, which is used as a melee attack, or you can throw out some magic attacks. But the game was developed by Alchemy Sheep, which is a Slovenian independent game studio run by Andres Orazim, and they don't seem to have any other games according to Steam. But NecroBouncer started development in June of 2017 and was originally going to be a mobile clicker game, but as development went on, the vision Andres wanted turned more into a roguelike game. That's the creator of the game, and let me tell you, I haven't been able to play the whole game yet. The build I have only lets me play the first couple levels, but so far from what I've played, the game feels pretty good and has a lot to talk about. As usual, I'll talk about the ins and outs of a run, and of course the outside will be much shorter, so let's talk about that first. Once a run is finished or you die, the game will show off all these new relics that you unlock, and there's a lot. Even for a build with only 2 chapters, the amount of relics I unlocked was insane. Reminded me a bit of Revita with the vast amount available, but unlike Revita, the relics seem to automatically unlock and can start appearing in runs immediately, which is nice. And outside of unlocking relics, the only thing that happens outside of a run is selecting your character, which isn't much, but it's a little unique. So this build has 3 characters total, all with different starting health and a different starting ability that uses energy points. Along with that, each character has performance stars that you earn for doing certain tasks throughout all your runs while using them. Performance stars can be used on relics before every run. It seems that the relics that you can choose from are random and cost either 1, 2, or 3 stars. It's a good way to get some starting buffs to help keep the player involved. From what I've seen, that's everything you can do outside of a run so far. I imagine the game will get a lot more updates as the game fully releases, but it's not bad for what it is. Now let's talk about the inside of a run. Inside of a run reminds me mostly of Enter the Gungeon with its combat, but Enter the Gungeon does it differently, where you have 5 floors, with each floor having multiple rooms you have to clear out. Now NecroBouncer, from what I've played, each floor has about 10 to 12 rooms to clear out, and each room has a different clear condition. Some rooms you need to destroy all these glass pillars while enemies spawn from them every 10 seconds, or you need to move giant stones to corresponding pieces on the floor, or you just stand in a circle while killing enemies. From what I've seen, the game has about 10 different clearing conditions, all being similar in difficulty, while having hard rooms marked as exclamation points on the map. I'll say the legend they have in the top left corner telling you what every room means is very helpful for a new player. When I first started playing, I'd avoid the hard rooms, but as runs went by, I realized that every hard room gave you a reward of a relic, and grabbing as many relics as possible made the run so much easier, as you always get the option to choose between 3 relics. Now, onto the combat in the run. It's really simple, but can be a little hard to tell when some enemies are attacking with how small everything really is. The game is pretty unforgiving with health, as getting hit once will lose a full heart of health, and it's not very common for enemies to drop health, but they do drop gold, which is used at the bar, and the bars are just shops in the run. Every floor has at least 1 bar, usually at the end of it. And enemies also end up dropping energy, which allows you to use your magic attacks. Now for the gold, that's the currency of the game. That's only used in runs. If you die, you don't bring your gold to your next run, and can only be spent at the bars from what I've seen. Bars allow you to buy extra health, refill energy, or buy up to 4 relics, if you have enough money, that is. And of course, at the end of each floor, you end with a boss fight, and these boss fights are pretty hard. But that's all that's inside of a run, it seems. There's gold to get, there's relics to get, there's like a handful of clear conditions for each floor, and of course, there's a hard boss fight at the end of each floor. But that can bring us to the next chapter, which won't be long to discuss, and that's difficulty of the game. The difficulty of the game is, well, it's hard. Like most roguelike games, it's very unforgiving, and at first, it's very challenging. You gotta learn the enemies' moves, the boss's move, find good relic combinations, and like I said before, some enemies are hard to see when they're attacking with how tiny it is at times. With all that said, though, I feel the game will end up being pretty easy for a first clear. I beat the creator demo in less than 3 hours and had a pretty strong build going in terms of relics. I'm very curious to see if there will be any difficulty enhancers once the game fully releases, as I'd love to see how they change the bosses and enemies up. Almost every successful roguelike game has difficulty enhancers that help improve the game so much. Hades, Dead Cells, Have a Nice Death, the list goes on. And it would be very nice to see a game like this have those difficulty enhancers, as the combat really does remind you of Enter the Gungeon, which is one of the best roguelike games of all time. Really, that's everything to know about this little roguelike game. I got an email about it one day and decided, why not? I get a lot of emails from small indie devs wanting me to try their game and make videos on them, and I do appreciate it a lot. I really do, but it's impossible to play every single one that gets to me and make a video on it. I try to respond to them when I can, but it just gets overwhelming. But I'm glad I tried this one out. One thing I didn't mention is if you're a Twitch streamer, the game also plans to have Twitch integration as well when it launches. I streamed the game a couple times and the integration never worked for me, but it's nice to see more games involving some kind of Twitch integration as it helps keep the audience engaged. It worked really well with Call to the Lamb, as we know, and it also works well with PlateUp. I'm excited to see what this game turns into, as I've only been able to play this genre for about a year, so I've missed a lot of big releases, and I hope to see some success for NecroBouncer. Thanks to the developers for sending me a key so I can play this game a little bit early. I had a lot of fun with it, and I appreciate you watching this video. If you liked it, you can like and subscribe, and a huge shout out to all the people that support me on Patreon, of course. I really appreciate the patience and the support on Patreon, Twitch, YouTube, everything. If you want to watch me live stream any of these games that I play on this channel, you can watch on Twitch. All right, I'll see you next time.